Hey y'all, Chris with Rockin Farm here. We're getting really close to our breeding season as far as our Idaho pasture pigs go. Dot was weaned off approximately 10 days ago. I've been keeping an eye on her. She may have already gone into her first heat cycle. I'm not real sure, but we're hoping to catch that second heat cycle. Panchita has already had 2 heat cycles. She'll be coming up on her 3rd heat cycle, like the 26th of this month, which is right around the corner. So it's time to move a bunch of pigs, and in order to move a bunch of pigs, I'm finally going to get around to dividing my available pastures up into the various paddocks that I kind of have available with what I have to work with. So right now we're going to get all these animals fed, get all these chores done, and then we're going to get to building some paddocks. I've got some little aerial shots, nothing fancy like drone footage, y'all, just good old Google Maps. But I've got some pretty good aerial shots that'll kind of show you how I divided it up. And we can talk about why I did that. I've got 2 paddocks going in right now. Once I get these 2 paddocks in, I'm going to redo a paddock that will no longer have a pig in it and make it more semi-permanent, I guess. I'm trying to basically run my lines where if I ever come in with hard fencing, I'll be running fencing. So, you know, not permanent, because if I don't like it, I can move it very easily. But, you know, semi-permanent, because I'm hoping it'll stay up until we get around to actually fencing it in. So one of the things that I kind of feel like I need to do with my paddocks, and I'll explain why in a minute, but I put in lots and lots of gates. I'll kind of show you what I mean by that when I say gates. I'm not talking about an actual gate. I'm just talking about, you know, the electric wire that comes to a handle that I can disconnect and open up. Now, obviously, you got to have at least one gate in there so that you can get pigs in and out of it, or so you can get a tractor or a lawnmower or something into a paddock area. But I tend to put in a lot of gates, sometimes kind of one on each corner. And this is a relatively new thing, like that paddock I just showed you. It just has the one gate. Whereas this paddock that the girls are in over here, you can see their pig hut and you can see the pigs. There's a gate there, but there's also a gate down on the other end there. Basically that area there, if you can kind of see the white line, that's an existing paddock that's going to remain just as it is. And you can see that I'm running a straight line with this old electric fence wire because I'm moving over to the poly tape. I like it a lot better. But basically extending from real close to my little patio area here back to the same line there, we'll run across this way, is going to be paddock number 2, and then there will be a long thin paddock along the back. Here, let me show you what I mean. So you can see in this first picture of this Google image that I've outlined the existing paddock. Now, in this second picture that I'm going to show you right now, you're going to see the long skinny paddock on the north side of my property. Now, this third picture is the new paddock that's going to go in on this area. So this is actually kind of number 2 on the priorities for the paddocks that I'm putting in. The first paddock we're going to put in is going to be moving Weddle to his new paddock so that the girls can move in with him. But then we're going to install this paddock semi-permanently so that we can move the feeders and gilts over to this area. So on paddock of importance number 2, there's a gate right there. That's the electric charger. There's a gate right there, that T-post and that T-post, that's going to come into this paddock number 2, we'll call it. And then there's going to be a gate. I don't know if we can see the T-posts real clearly, but there's a T-post there and one there. So that'll be a gate that goes back into that back skinny paddock. So basically there's a gate that goes from one paddock to the next paddock to the next paddock so that I don't ever have to pull pigs out of electric fence. We're also going to be putting in a gate right here so I can access this paddock from outside of all of the paddocks. And we're going to put a gate up on that top corner, which is real close to my wife's car who's heading off to work. So basically on this paddock, it's really got a gate on all 4 corners. The existing paddock that's there now, there's no gates on the back corners of it because of the fact that that's the neighbor's property. But on all the corners that face my property, there are gates. The long skinny one is going to have access in from an existing paddock, and down on the end by my property gate, there will be another gate in there to be able to access it from my driveway. So why so many gates? Well, the answer's behind me. One of the things that I really like doing is pulling pigs out of an area and into a new paddock, and then pulling chicken tractors into an area. So basically wherever I end my chicken tractors is where I need to be able to pull them on out and get them going in the next area. So basically, right now we're working this way towards the house with these chicken tractors. So I'll be able to get in at that gate down there, and then come across and into the gate in the paddock where the pigs are, and work my way back and forth until I get up to the top of that paddock where I can pull into the long skinny paddock. And basically we just keep moving pigs, moving in chickens, moving pigs, moving in chickens. The chickens in the chicken tractors do a fantastic job of really spreading out all of the pigs' fecal matter. We get a good rain and you go out there and there's no sign that I ever had pigs in there. Now, when we talk about the area on the other side of my driveway here, and you can see that I've got a driveway that pretty much splits these paddocks in half. So I have 3 half-acre paddocks over here, and I will have 3 roughly half-acre paddocks over here. So a total of 3 acres worth of paddocks. My property is a little over 5, but I've got chickens and a great big barn, and I've got sheds, and I've got a house, and I've got a garden that's about 1/3 of an acre. So a lot of things get taken up by the stuff that we need to live here as well, leaving me not as much area for paddock. We're in the process of trying to talk to a neighbor. She has an additional 2.5 acres that just sits there, and it's beautiful silvopasture, post oaks and live oaks and nice tall grass. So if I can talk her into letting me grow out my feeders on that piece of property, then my 3 acres here is plenty for my breeding program. So again, as you look at this area over here, I've got more pictures to show you. So the first picture you're looking at is the paddock that we're going to be putting in right now. It sits again up at the north end of this kind of funky shaped area. This one's a little under 1/2 acre. We're going to get this built, get the house moved, get the water moved, and get Weddle moved, and then we will be moving Panchita and then eventually Dot in with him. The existing paddock is kind of lined out by this area, but I'm not real happy with its current shape, and this shape you see in this picture is going to be a lot better. So basically, by just running straight back to my property lines, I've got another pasture that's roughly 1/2 acre. And then this third pasture will basically go right down to the chicken runs, the barns, etc. And that one's a little over 1/2 acre. So I thought y'all might enjoy seeing just kind of how my property is set up, what it is that I want to do with the property, and then explain to you why I do the fences the way that I do them. Now, the nice part about the way that I have like the driveway that comes down the middle of all the paddocks is that I do have some separation. I can make sure that when I've got feeding quality gilts or gilts that I don't want exposed or sows that I don't want exposed to a boar, I can keep them on the very far paddock where I've actually got my girls now, and I can keep all my boars on this side over here. Between having to get through one layer of electric fence and then get through another layer of electric fence to get to one another, plus the distance, I mean, they could potentially have to be getting through 3 or 4 layers of electric fence depending on which route they decide they want to try to take. Now, that's not to say that I'm not going to have problems, but I know plenty of breeders that the only thing that keeps their pigs away from each other is 2 strands of electric. So the fact that I've got 2 strands of electric and a lot of distance between the pigs, I'm feeling pretty good about being able to keep pigs separated that I do not want together. All right, y'all, we are about 90% done with this little project. You know, we just ran it all the way around. It's not like it's rocket science, and that's why I didn't show you. You can see behind me here that I've still got some weed eating to do. I need to get in here with the weed eater and get all this brush off this line. And then you see this piece of rebar here behind me? So that's the way I set up my fences is T-posts on all corners. Any place where it's going to bend, T-post. So I've got a little bit of rigidness and strength there. The T-posts are roughly 32 feet apart with a piece of rebar in the middle. So basically I have a post of some type every 16 feet. Now, obviously, if you're building fence, you want to go about 8 feet. So, why am I doing such a long stretch here? Well, because there's nothing about an electric fence that's strong. If something wants to get through it, something is going to get through it. The purpose of the supports is really just to keep the electric fence wiring up off the ground. So, as long as you've got something close enough, and I've discovered for me 16 feet is close enough to keep it from sagging, You can pull it relatively taut. When you get to a corner, maybe do a loop around a couple of times so you can pull it back the other way. So it is relatively tight, but it wouldn't be any tighter if I had something every 8 feet. I would just be using a lot more T-posts and a lot more rebar. I've got a couple places where I'm going to need to put in a piece of rebar to like maybe bump the fence out a couple of inches so it can make it around a tree stump or something like that. So I've got like 2 places I need to put some rebar in, and I need to get in here with the weed eater, and then we're going to be good to move that pig over here, move his house over here, move his water over here, and he'll have a new paddock. So I hope y'all enjoyed getting a little bit of insight into, like, you know, the actual setup of Rockin Farm. 5.36 acres in Central Texas. We're raising pigs, we're raising chickens. Guineas do a good job of pest control. We've got the dogs out here that keep all the critters and deer off the property. So, we're not a big chunk of Texas, but we're doing a lot with our little piece of Texas. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you got any comments or questions, drop them down in the comment section. You can also feel free to shoot me an email at rockin8farm@gmail.com. And other than that, until I see y'all again, this has been Chris, the Rockin 8 Farm. Be happy, live healthy.